Hello and welcome to Louis Philippe in Pursuit of Excellence. My guest today is the incredible Jimmy Connors. 109 singles titles, the most of any individual in the game of tennis. And I tell you, he still looks like he can continue playing to this day. Jimmy, good to see you.
Oh, I wish that was true, Vijay. I mean, to go back and to have some matches like we did in the past. And I'm old school anyway. I like everything, years ago. I like the actors. I like the athletes. I like the stars. It's just a feeling that I have. That's my upbringing. And, to be able to recreate that, wouldn't that be fun?
But you played a lot of generations, and we're going to talk about that. But I'm going to start by going back, because the early years to kids is very important. How someone grew up, a great champion like yourself, how you grew up, and how much effort mom put into your tennis. We all loved Gloria, and her being with you really developed you as a junior player and then as a senior player.
Well, yeah, she gave me everything. You know that. And if it wasn't for her, tennis was her life, and she loved it. And then, to have been able to pass that on to me was, I know, very special for her. But I took to it, and I liked it. It was also a way for me to spend time with my mom and my grandmother, and to, my mom was trying to teach some lessons and to supplement income back in the days, and so for me to hang around and to get on a court or to be able to hit some balls with her somewhere along during the course of the day was pretty special. So it was all good.
Now, you came out of Belleville, Illinois, small town, obviously, in the Midwest. You moved to St. Louis. You started playing tennis at a very young age. At 9 years old, you were winning junior tournaments, under 12, under 15, and so on. Where does this kind of determination come at a young age?
You don't have it really. You're still searching, for something. You're trying to be good at something, but tennis wasn't forced on me. It was given to me as a way to get off the streets and to have something to try to get good at, maybe get a college education and get around, meet some guys, meet some new friends, and the end result back then, there was no money back then, so it was all about, what you can do with it to make connections and whatever comes from there. But my mom always told me, she goes, if you're going to go out and do something and play it, so you might as well try to be good at it, and be the best you can be. But there wasn't the pressure. There wasn't that you must and you have to do this, and it was fun. And because of that, it gave me the opportunity to be more free. Even at a young age, my mom asked me to do something. She didn't tell me to hit a shot. And this is the way you have to do it. She goes, it might be better if, you tried to hit it this way. I was, and as you know, even through my career, if you told me that it was orange, I'd say no.
I remember.
But she knew that. She was good at the, more, I guess, at the psychological part of handling me at a young age. But I think her greatest strength, not only being able to, teach me and give me the basics and the techniques, but she knew when to also let me go, and to say, I've taken you as far as I can. It's time for you to find somebody and to be with somebody who can make you into what you want to be. And to me, that was her greatest strength.
Now, when you look back at those times, and I know she gave you the basic fundamentals, taught you exactly how to strike the ball, how to play the game. But, it's never easy to teach you to win. It's always, you can teach someone to be a good player. But to be a champion, a great champion, is sort of comes from within to some extent. But you did have Pancho Segura. I know we also were helped by Pancho Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah.
So you had the two great Panchos working with you. Could you go wrong?
No, I couldn't. If I missed, then it was my fault. To have that experience and that knowledge and that friendship, between the two Panchos, and we were with Pancho Gonzalez, but Pancho Segura was really my mentor. That's who my mom turned me over to. And so he took me in, like a member of his family, and treated me like a son, and allowed me to really grasp everything he had to offer, tennis-wise. But he gave me more than just the tennis. He taught me on the court and off the court about life and about things, because my mom, I was raised by my mom and my grandma mostly, and so I needed a male influence. he gave that to me.
It's interesting, but the young players today wouldn't know who the great Pancho Segura was and what an incredible two-hander he had off that forehand. Is it fair to say that his two-hander off the forehand sort of developed the Jimmy Connors backhand?
I would say that his two-hander was probably what started that revolution, you know, and you know, there was an understanding then of just what having two hands, you know, could do for you, and the benefits of it. It also had some difficult aspects to it also. I mean, it had power, it had direction, but I think, you know, his attitude, the way he smiled, the way he went about playing the game, you know, his being a character and enjoying what he did, rubbed off on me just as much. And he, when I first went to him, I remember him telling me, he says, "There's only two things I'm asking of you. One, that every time you walk out there, you have fun and enjoy what you're doing, because it is a pleasure to play. And the other is to don't ever let a ball go by. You give it 110% every day, every match, every point, every ball." And he says, and then you can walk off and have no regrets. And he told me that very early. And, you know, unfortunately, I took him up on it.
Yes, I know.
You know, and played like that. But that was my... that's my legacy, you know, to myself. You know, out there, you think about me whatever you want, but my legacy to myself is that I never ever walked off the court not feeling satisfied. You know, I lost many matches, don't get me wrong. I said, but not from lack of effort, for lack of training, for lack of anything it took for me to try to be my best that day. And you know, and he instilled that in me.
So you came out west, out to California. You went to UCLA to start off with, of course, and as a freshman, you won the NCAA Singles Championships, which is one of the hardest things to do and to win. At that point in time, did you actually believe in yourself? I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to be one of the greatest of all time.
Saying you want to be one of the greatest of all time is a little far-fetched, but going out and trying to be a great professional player. I didn't come west and give up my family and give up my life, you know, not that it was anything special anyway. I mean, but, you know, to make that move was really a drastic move for a 16-year-old kid. And I didn't give everything up and to change everything to come out just to try to be mediocre. You know, I knew that move was a move that my mom was making for a reason. And I could not disappoint. I couldn't disappoint my mom, you know, for allowing that to happen and making that possible. And I also couldn't disappoint Pancho, you know, for him sticking his neck out really on a little young kid from the Midwest, you know, that you know, really, you know, had a long way to go, and putting his reputation on the line to, you know, to try to make me a great player. So it was, you know, the pressure. It wasn't pressure. It was an opportunity, you know, that I could not possibly let go of, EJ. And I mean, you know, once you get something like that, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I had to take advantage of it.
So I remember seeing you for the first time. I think it was 1972, coming out to the Pacific Southwest in Los Angeles at the LA Tennis Club, and
That's right.
There was this young American, you know, very brash and sort of, you know, got along. He didn't quite get along with the people, but he did, and people loved him and hated him at the same time.
Wasn't that great?
It was a moment that, you know, I'm coming from India, and I'm coming to America for the first time, and it was an overwhelming experience to see the relationship you started with the American public at that time.
Well, I had two good teachers, as we just talked about. Pancho Gonzalez, who was the ante, you know, and had the attitude, and, you know, very fiery on the court, and wasn't afraid to say things. And then I had Pancho Segura, who was totally opposite, you know, wanted everybody to love him and smile and be a part of what he was doing. I didn't want to be like Laver. I didn't want to be like Gonzalez. I didn't want to be like, but I wanted to pick, you know, and say, I like that. I want to be like that a little bit, and this a little bit. And so, you know, the individuality of tennis back then was what I liked most about it. You know, we have a young Indian coming over to America for the first time who, you know, totally different from, you know, from anything I've ever seen, you know, and able to become friends and still friends after all these years. Playing against a young Swedish kid that, you know, never said a word by the name of Bjorn Borg, who just went out and kicked everybody's butt, you know, and then all of a sudden McEnroe, and then Ilie Nastase, who really was, was what laid the groundwork for a lot of what tennis had become, you know, and then Panatta from Italy and Vilas. I mean, the feeling of all the individuals and the characters and their own charisma, and even more important than that was their own tennis game. You know, nobody played the same. Everybody was different. You know, I criticized, well, Connors can't change his game. My change in game was so subtle, even I didn't know it. you know, so I mean, but that's what the learning process was all about, which was the most fun.
So fast forward just a little bit more, and we look at the Wimbledon in '74. And now you came in there, of course, the Wimbledon crowd didn't grasp and get a hold of you right away. Ken Rosewall was the person everyone loved, everyone wanted to see win Wimbledon. He had not won, he had been in the finals, he had lost to Drobny the last time he was in a final. So here he is towards the end of his career, and he was in the final against this young American, Jimmy Connors. And you destroyed him in straight sets.
Well, I mean, do you ever think you'll ever get another chance? I guess is what I was thinking. You know, I'm in the finals of Wimbledon. You know, it wasn't anything personal, you know, from either side. I mean, we're out there both trying to win a tennis match. And you know, my idea was, you know, I'm here, you know, try to take advantage of it and go out and do whatever it takes to win. You know, and as it turned out, I had 4 or 5 more chances to win Wimbledon, but, you know, those passed me by before I won it again. So, but to play against Ken Rosewall, he's 39 years old, and in the finals, he had won a couple great matches in 5 sets to get there, and had defied the odds, really. You know, I mean, tennis is a young man's game. And to be played by young men that are willing to go out and do whatever it takes. And I'm playing against a 39-year-old guy that's been around, that's set many records, that's one of the greatest of all time, and he's still there. You know, so my emotions were so mixed. You know, I didn't know. I mean, you know, I don't want him to get into the match because I see what he's able to do as the match goes on. So I remember walking out to go play the match, and Pancho said, he says, you know, don't even give it consideration. You know, that he may not should be here. You know, he's a world champion. You know, you just go take care of what you have to do and play like you're playing. He said, don't give him a chance.
109 singles titles that you've won in your career. I know you've had a long career and you gave it everything, but you know, it's a very special number because no one will ever get even close to that kind of a number.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Records are made to be broken, I guess, and somewhere, you know, maybe now in this generation or somewhere down the road, somebody's going to do it. But when we played VJ, the emphasis was put on every match. You know, now it's on the Grand Slams and how many Grand Slams you win. You know, which is fine. That's all fine. You know, but in our time, it was every time you walked out there, it was the pursuit of excellence, and that's what I was after. You know, to try to be the absolute best I could be, every day. Every match, every ball, every point. Now, how often do you reach that? But that wasn't, reaching it almost was not the fun. It was the trying to reach it that you know, drove me. You know, and if you reach it, what's perfection in tennis? You know, how do you measure perfection? But it was trying to reach that perfection that was so much fun. I did play a long time, you know, but to look back, and to realize that I was able to give it that effort every time, that's what, you know, I'd like to be remembered for, above all. You know, the Wimbledons or the U.S. Opens or whatever, is that every time I walked out there on the court, that hopefully I gave the fans what they came to see from me, and if I get that in return, then been pretty successful.
So I'm going to get back to the US Open, probably your favorite tournament in the world, and how well, not just the way New York reacted to you and you reacted to New York, You won the championship 3 times on 3 different surfaces, 5 in total at the US Open. What made you so tough and competitive in New York?
Well, first of all, New York and myself didn't click from the very beginning. I mean, we had some rocky times, and then something happened along the way where we kind of got each other. I think they got that what I was trying to do when I was out on the court and the way I approached my tennis and the attitude that I had. And then I understood that they were looking for something different also. They wanted perfection, but they wanted to be drawn into a game that they didn't really know. They were football fans and baseball fans and basketball fans, team fans. They liked the team. So what needed to be done to grab that New York fan to come watch tennis at the US Open? We jockeyed for position, for a number of years, but then something clicked. Now, what clicked? I think New York fans are some of the most knowledgeable sports fans in the world, and because of all the sports that they have just in that area. Tennis was changing back in that time, BJ. Australia ruled, the US ruled. It wasn't a game that was just keeping up with the other sports. And to do that, it took a bunch of guys that came along at the same time that were different, but the same, after the same thing, which is to make tennis bigger and better, to draw in the people so that sponsors would look at us, TV would look at us, but it wasn't going to happen. One guy couldn't do it, and one attitude couldn't do it. We had to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I say that with pride because, there's always got to be an anti in something. Somebody's got to be the bad guy. And I happen to like that. I liked fighting the fans, and I liked fighting my opponents, and I liked fighting the linesmen. All that did was drive me to try to be better.
So when you go back to Wimbledon, 1982, and after an 8-year gap, you're able to reclaim the championships in that incredible match in the final in 5 sets, if memory serves me correctly. Did that give you a better feeling of saying, you know what, I can come back and do it anytime I want after winning it in 74?
No, I mean, I had a couple chances in between, 3 chances in between to win Wimbledon again and didn't. So getting there was okay, but it started to wear on my mind a little bit that I'm getting there, but I'm not closing the deal. What's up? So it wasn't confidence because I was playing the kind of tennis necessary to be a finalist. So and I knew going into 82 that I was running out of time. I was getting older. I was in my 30s now, and that athletes are people very quick to write athletes off and to say they're over the hill and time for them to go and ride off into the sunset and all that. So, I was running out of time, and to have come up and to have played that kind of match against the best grass courter at the time, the #1 player in the world at the time, on his favorite surface at the time, being John McEnroe, and to have won that match was pretty special.
I'll never forgive you, by the way, for the year before, because
It was a mistake.
It was okay. We're just talking about our 81 quarterfinal here. I had him 2-0. And there were a lot of people actually who had bought tickets after I was up 2-0 to come in to watch that match because they obviously wanted to see me win that match in straight sets or 4 sets. And then you did whatever you did, which you shouldn't have done.
I shouldn't have. I told you it was a mistake.
But it was interesting to see how you would never let go every time you played those kinds of matches. When you played the Borgs and the McEnroes and the Lendls as we moved along, and even by the time you got towards the tail end of your career, 39 years of age, playing the US Open, just to watch you playing at the US Open at that age gave me goosebumps, just watching you do that.
I look back and I wonder if I played too long. But when you have the passion, and I actually, we've been friends a long time. I love the game. I love the playing of the game, and going out there and trying to defy the odds. And I was out of tennis for a year with a major wrist injury, and I wasn't willing to let go of that, Vijay. I couldn't sit around and have an injury tell me that I'm finished, and I had to do whatever it took to go out. And so I went through the reconstructive wrist surgery and the 6 months in a cast, and having my kids throw a ball to me like I was a beginner so that I could gain strength. And I went through all that, but it wasn't work. There was a goal. There was something that I was trying to go after. And I knew coming back was going to be hard. I wasn't looking for the French, or I wasn't looking for Wimbledon. If that would have come along, it would have been okay. My goal was the U.S. Open, and to try to make a little bit of noise there and go out in a way that I could, from everything that the U.S. Open meant to me.
Finally, if you had to pinpoint something or a bunch of things in your pursuit of excellence, how would you term it? How would you kind of find that little thing, that extra thing that would be in your favor, that you managed to kind of engulf and make it your own in your pursuit of excellence?
I think one thing for sure that allowed me to do what I did was one, I got the maximum out of the minimum. I didn't waste my time when I was around the tennis. Tennis was my business, even though I loved it. But if I went out to practice for an hour, I got 60 minutes of that hour, and that's enough for me. I didn't like hanging around and just being a part of it. I did my job and was able to get away, which allowed my mind to rest. Because my mental approach to the game was my strength, but it was also wearing. It would wear on me to the point where, even in my matches, I went. That's why I kind of talked to you and talked to people, and to give my mind a rest. I was that was my approach to it, and that was the approach that was given to me when I was younger, from my mom. To the way I went into a match. And I think the other thing that allowed me to reach the height that I did was that I was willing to kill myself in the pursuit of excellence. And I often say that I've left my DNA on a lot of courts around this world, and I mean that. And it was my pleasure. Don't get me wrong, it was my pleasure. But that was, to me, the most fun, to go out there and just because for 5 hours, Vij, I had nothing else to do. If you were going to beat me, you were going to have to, stay out there and work at it. And if you walked off there with the win, you were going to say, "Oh man, was it worth it?" But that to me was my favorite thing to do. So
well, listen.
good.
I was very fortunate that we played so many matches together and hung around for 20 years together.
And still hanging. That's the key.
And
only now we're playing golf.
Now we're playing golf. You're teaching me to play a good game of golf, which is a good thing. But I'm still going to come back and keep asking you to come visit us in India at some point.
Well,
so we're going to
maybe we can do it.
Get you out there.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Jimmy Connors, thanks so much.
Always good to see you, Vijay. Thank you.
You can also watch this episode online at louisphilippe.com.